Scientific naming of living organisms. All well-known organisms have common or traditional names which vary from one language to another. In fact, in some cases, the same organism may have several names in the same language. Now, this presence of different names for a particular organism may lead to confusion when scientists communicate about it. Now, to avoid this problem, a system was developed by a scientist in the 18th century by the name Carolus Linnaeus. Carolus Linnaeus. He devised a system of naming organisms in which every organism has a single scientific name. In this system, the name consists of two parts. In other words, the organism is given two names, hence the term binomial nomenclature. And in naming the organisms, Carolus used Latin language. He used Latin language for the following reasons. One, Latin language was widely spoken and used by the scientists during his time. Two, Latin language being not in active use, it is a dead language, therefore it is not bound to change, and the meaning of words are bound to remain the same. And then three, given that the system was developed in Europe and most of the European languages are Latin based, so it was easy for it to be adopted by the rest of the scientists. And then four, by adopting one particular language, a tradition was established that has been kept, because every field, every discipline has its own tradition which it follows. So in the naming, scientific naming of organisms, the tradition of using Latin has been practiced from the 18th century to the present day. Now, the binomial nomenclature follows the following rules. One, that the names given to the organism consist of two words. The first name or the first word is derived from the genus, and the second one from the species. Now, when typing or when it is in TypeScript, the two words must either be italicized or written in bold, or when it is handwritten, that is, when the names are in manuscript, then the two names must be underlined separately. So, for example, the name Homo sapien. Homo sapiens is a scientific name of human beings. So the two names must be underlined separately. The third rule is that the first name, that is the genus, must always begin with a capital letter, and then all the others must be written in small letters. And then both names must either be in Latin, or if they are not in Latin, then they must be Latinized. They must be Latinized. Because usually, especially for the name of the species, the specific name is normally derived from maybe the geographical area that the organism was first discovered, or can be derived from the surname of the discoverer, or maybe derived from the principal feature or characteristic of the organism. But whatever the case, the specific name or even the generic name, if it is not in the Latin language, it must be made to sound like Latin. So for example, if there's a particular type of plant, acacia plant, that is common in Ngong area, and it is named after the Ngong area, so the Latinized version of the name Ngong is Ngongi. So we have Acacia ngongi. The word Ngong has been Latinized and it sounds like Latin. So that's what we mean by the name being Latinized. If it is named after the geographical area or discoverer, then it must be made to sound like Latin. So to illustrate how the naming and classification works, we look at these two examples of classification and naming of human being and a maize plant. The human being belongs to the kingdom Animalia. Within this kingdom Animalia, there are several phyla, and it belongs to one particular one known as the Chordata. Within the phylum Chordata, there are several classes, and human being is placed in the class Mammalia. The class Mammalia has several orders, and human being, together with the other primates like the gorilla, the chimpanzee, belong to the order Primates. Now, in the order Primate, there are several families, and man belongs to the family Hominidae. In the family of hominids, there are several genera and belong to the genus Homo. There are several homos or genera, and the specific species that belong to is known as the sapiens. So based on the binomial nomenclature, the scientific name of human being derived from the genus, the first name, and the species, the second, is Homo sapiens. Now the same order and hierarchy applies to all the other organisms, for example, including the maize plant. Kingdom is Plantae. Division, because in this case not the phylum, but division is Spermatophyta. Within the division Spermatophyta, it belongs to the class Monocotyledonae. Among the monocotyledonous plant, it belongs to the order Gramineals. Of the Gramineals, it belongs to the family Graminae. And within the family of Graminae, it belongs to the genus Z, and the species is maize. So the scientific name becomes Z. maize.